What do you think this sound is? It's the noise caused by a group of boys recklessly riding modified motorcycles. Although Japan is known for its safety, what's not widely known that there are groups of children who repeatedly engage in disruptive behavior such as extortion, assault, and traffic law violations. Motorcycles that no longer resemble their original form. Hairstyles with no discernible concept. Outlandish clothing. Groups of about 3 to 100 people dressed like this modify things like motorcycle mufflers to deliberately generate noise. Ignoring traffic laws, they ride recklessly through the streets in the middle of the night with deafening sound. These groups are known as Bosozoku, reckless driving tribes. The average age is around 16 to 18 years old. Running red lights, swerving, and driving against traffic are commonplace. Many of them don't even have a driver's license to begin with. They carry iron pipes and chains, and if you dare to honk your horn, they may surround your car as a group and start striking it. They are fully aware that they're protected by the juvenile law. Many of them, driven by mob mentality and lacking a sense of restraint due to their youth, often escalate their actions to the point where they commit brutal murders. In some cases, they also have ties to the Yakuza, and this sense of being protected only fuels their tendency to escalate their behavior further. Their roots trace back to around 1959 in the Showa era, when young people began racing motorcycles at high speeds on public roads, modifying their mufflers to create loud noises. Because they roared by like thunder and disappeared in an instant, people began calling them Kaminari-zoku, Thunder Tribe. The behavior of these youths, seeking speed and thrills, riding in groups, and spreading noise, is considered the origin of the Bosozoku. This news is reporting that 7 boys were arrested by the police. Take a look at their colorful, modified motorcycles. From the 1970s to the 1980s, they became a major social problem. Behind this was the media, manga, magazines, and more, which glamorized their lives and friendships, portraying them as a stylish and admirable subculture. This further fueled their organization and activities. While groups like the Hells Angels and many other street gangs are known to generate huge profits through drugs, illegal firearms, and prostitution, Bosozoku rarely operate such businesses as organized groups. Instead, they mostly steal other people's motorcycles or demand money under the guise of donations or support from underclassmen at school or in the neighborhood. Because of this, those not involved in the group, such as classmates, tend to avoid them. Part of the money they collect is paid to their patron Yakuza groups as tribute. These Yakuza patrons are often seniors who originally belonged to the Bosozoku themselves. If the tribute money is insufficient, the Yakuza members may summon and physically assault the Bosozoku leaders. As a result, those leaders tighten pressure on their own members, demanding more money and valuables. However, as previously mentioned, they generally lack a sustainable business model. When driven into a corner by their seniors, lower-ranking members may commit impulsive acts such as attacking random passers-by, called uncle hunting, to rob them of money or valuables. They frequently clash with rival groups, especially those who use the same riding routes, engaging in brawls and turf wars, all while aiming to grow their organization through dominance or alliances. The ultimate dream of a Bosozoku is national domination, unifying Japan, mirroring the mindset of the Sengoku era, where feudal warlords fought to rule the land. Many Bosozoku members come from broken homes, often living with a single parent or returning to an empty house, and some are victims of domestic violence. Overwhelmed with anxiety, they fall behind in school and begin to gather with others in similar circumstances. Seeking a place to belong, they end up joining local Bosozoku groups that have been passed down in their area. After graduating from junior high school, they begin fully engaging in Bosozoku activities, riding recklessly at night. Exhausted during the day, they start skipping high school and eventually drop out altogether, They recruit delinquent friends and underclassmen from the surrounding area and work to maintain and expand their organization by forming alliances or absorbing rival Bosozoku groups. Because of this, those with strong leadership or fighting ability earn respect within the group. Many Japanese manga and films featuring student fights are heavily influenced by this Bosozoku culture. There were even magazines dedicated to Bosozoku, which used to be easily found in convenience stores across the country. As previously mentioned, most members are young males, and all female groups are sometimes referred to by the slang term ladies. At the height of their popularity, crowds of youths would gather along roads at night just to catch a glimpse of a Bosozoku run. Bosozoku represented the typical image of delinquent youth, and from the 1970s through the 1980s, their fashion and hairstyles, considered tough and manly by some misguided young people, spread widely among delinquents, regardless of actual membership. This eccentric fashion, while now rare, still survives in groups outside major metropolitan areas. It remains visible during the coming-of-age day ceremonies held every second Monday of January, where some youths wear these outfits, showing that Bosozoku culture is still seen as cool in certain rural regions. Their clothing is called tokofuku, special attack uniforms, decorated with embroidered symbols of strength like dragons and tigers, and traditional Japanese motifs such as cherry blossoms, meant Fuji, or the rising sun. These garments also bear poems and farewell messages that express the wearer's life philosophy. Examples include, "If I must fall like a cherry blossom, I'll bloom beautifully before I go. I have no regrets in my life. If this is the path I've chosen, I'll walk it to the very end. Bloom on a Saturday night, silence the highway, become a demon. Fights welcome, I'm the brightest star." Incidentally, in major cities like Tokyo, this culture is seen as a relic of the distant past. People view it with curiosity or ridicule, and as such, the culture is considered extinct in urban areas. In Japan, there is an ancient tradition of mountain worship called shugendo, and from that developed Fujiko, a form of Met Fuji worship that emerged during the Edo period. In pre-modern Japan, when science was still undeveloped, mountains were believed to be inhabited by terrifying spirits and demons. Entering the mountains was thought to mean crossing into another world. Mountains were both feared and revered, believed to bestow spiritual powers upon those who ventured into them. For Bosozoku, who identify themselves with the good old culture of Japan, Met Fuji came to hold a special significance. They began to believe that witnessing the first sunrise of the new year from Mount Fuji would bring them divine protection. As a result, it became a custom for Bosozoku across the country to race toward Mount Fuji on December 31st in a massive nationwide ride. This was once a familiar scene on the news and had become something of a year-end tradition. When revving their engines, Bosozoku perform a technique called koru, using throttle control to create rhythmic, melodic sounds, kind of like a DJ scratching a record. Those with exceptional skill in this technique are held in high regard, on par with those who are physically strong or have leadership qualities. They are often referred to as call masters or sound masters. Let's take a listen to what this sounds like. This is a call event. It's not a Bosozoku event, but the sound is something like this. Repeated acts of motorcycle theft, brawling, and traffic law violations, even minor offenses, result in a criminal record, and in some cases, lead to placement in a juvenile detention center. After release, it becomes difficult to find employment, casting a long shadow over their future in society. A notable aspect of the Bosozoku is that, compared to street gangs in other countries, their activities are extremely low in productivity and involve high risk with little reward. However, leaders who successfully absorb many groups into their organization and consistently deliver tribute money to Yakuza syndicates are often seen as highly competent and may be recruited into organized crime around the time they retire from the Bosozoku. Most Bosozoku members retire before they turn 20. Those who remain in the group past 20 are secretly mocked by younger members. In the end, many settle into jobs in construction, port labor, or civil engineering. Surprisingly, some even go on to run their own companies and find success in those fields. Regular gatherings are held to reaffirm solidarity. The relationship between seniors and juniors is absolute. Juniors are never allowed to talk back to seniors. Among them, the highest valued virtues are guts and determination, ki and konjo. However, these are often just tools for those in power to control subordinates and have little real meaning. If someone fails to collect money, it's said they lack ki. If they're attacked by another group, it's because they lack konjo, terms used in irrational and coercive contexts. Due to the rigid hierarchical structure and sports club-like culture, along with internal codes and negative peer pressure, it is difficult to voluntarily leave the group. Those who break the rules may be restrained or subjected to beatings. This culture is similar to that of the Yakuza, but as times have changed, such strict codes have become less acceptable among youth. Starting around 1982, the number of Bosozoku began to decline. At one point, they were thought to be on the verge of extinction, but now, with the rise of groups known as kyushakai, old car clubs, the culture is showing signs of revival. In the early 2000s, former Bosozoku members who had retired and were now in their 30s to 40s with some financial stability began calling out once again with the sentiment, "Let's be who we were back then once more." This gave rise to the kyushakai. However, unlike in their teenage years, although they still rode modified bikes, their activities took place during the day. They were reformed as a kind of social club that toured with good manners while obeying traffic laws, and it wasn't unusual to encounter them heading to the sea or mountains during holidays. At first, they toured various regions on their modified bikes, going around tasting famous local dishes and enjoying themselves in ways that didn't trouble others. However, in recent years, they have begun causing various problems. They use parking lots of restaurants along major roads as gathering spots, and when the shop owners ask them to move because general customers hesitate to come in, they intimidate them in large groups. There have also been increasing reports of problematic behavior such as weaving through traffic as they used to. In the first place, many of the modified bikes themselves are often in violation of the law. You don't really see them much anymore in the streets of Tokyo, but depending on the region, they still appear to be quite active. Thank you for watching the video to the end. If you like it and subscribe, it will be a great encouragement. Japan B is a channel that randomly shares information about lesser-known aspects of Japanese culture, spanning across various genres.
A typical example is that a member who causes a scandal or betrays the group must cut off a finger to apologize. The unique style of tattooing known as wabori is also a representative part of the Yakuza culture, but their unique culture, which is far removed from that of the general public, has been passed down continuously for hundreds of years. This video introduces 10 little-known customs and behaviors passed down among the Yakuza. The video also touches on their roots.